filling up that tank every morning, going to a job when we're charging half the price for the.
Hello, how y'all do today? Welcome. This is breaking news going down in right here, right now with Big Baby in the press room.
Solar panels.
And
get Tesla Solar and a power wall for no cost. Can you get paid $2,000?
Did you know what was going on in that bedroom?
I had blown away. He and his family are lucky to survive. He told us the Russian troops seemed very panicky. To me, they were scared, he said, and they shot everything that moved. There's increased tension around the capital, and soldiers are wary of everyone. They suspect Russian saboteurs might be posing as journalists.
He's Russian journalist.
And they're on the hunt for one in particular. The hospital staff are edgy too, and have found themselves treating some soldiers, but overwhelmed.
An oligarch who was once the richest man in Russia says it's entirely possible that Vladimir Putin's war in Ukraine might spell the end of his rule. Mikhail Khodorkovsky is a fierce critic of Putin. He spent years in prison in Russia and now lives in exile. He told CNN that Putin is losing in Ukraine, and if it keeps up, he likely will not be president of that country or the leader of that country for much longer.
Right now, Putin is clearly suffering.
You're getting it told right here, straight from the MSNBC Press right now. And as I speak, it is MSNBC Press. And I'm in the press room. This is Big Baby giving it to you live. And we are in session with the news, speaking on President Putin, whether or not, how long will he be in office because of the senseless war and the things that's going on that's taking the people back 32 years. As it continue, I will rebuttal with my opinion as it go forward.
A defeat, but he can, of course, still kill very many people. If the West continues to support Ukraine, his own defeat is inevitable. A coup is possible, and this has happened in Russian history before. But at the moment, Putin is able to project a fairly positive picture to the Russian population. If he starts looking like a loser, then a coup is possible.
Joining me now, CNN national security analyst and former CIA.
So there we go. There you have it. That he's hiding what the government needs to see. He doesn't want them to see and hear the outcome of what's going on, whether or not his rates are that he's losing. So plus up to the Ukrainians. Y'all are doing a great job of coming through this senseless war, but Putin is going through some tragedies that's being stated where he's blocking the government of Russia from being able to listen and hear the press. So he has control of that airwave, and he's speaking of shutting down Instagram come Monday. So until then, I'll give it to you as I go, and we will get the discussion going on with my opinion right here in the Opinion Talk Show in the Opinion Room, press room right here live with Big Baby. And I'll go forward with it as we speak right now on MSNBC News Live.
IA Chief of Russia Operations, Steve Hall. Steve, great to see you. Appreciate it. You actually wrote a piece for the Washington Post that Putin does fear a coup, but not by his oligarchs, not by the Russian people, but by his fellow spies. Is this sort of a live by the KGB, die by the KGB sort of scenario?
Well, Jim, I think it's more of just how the system is set up in Russia under Putinism. We have three branches of government here in the United States.
Before we go any further, did you hear that? That's they say under a Putinism, like Buddhism. But I'm not speaking of Buddhism. I'm speaking of Putinism. Well, Putin has his own way of doing what he chooses to do as a dictator. So these are the things that cause Russians to be set back for 32 years within 2 weeks. It doesn't happen overnight, but in 2 weeks you can be living back in the 80s had we kept going under the hip connection, because the bipartisanship was being had been torn down by quote unquote ex-President Putin. Trump, he threw it to the side, but it was built up by President Reagan at the most. And then now you have President Biden's rebuilding it for the people that's been evacuated from Ukraine to be able to come in and obtain 3 years to show that they're receiving and gaining a sustainable life. And this is how we have it right here. As I give it to you, my opinion, right here on Opinion Talk Show. It's been broadcast already on NBC News Live. And as I go, I bring it to you and give you my opinion that I'm all for President Biden allowing the refugees, as they call them, to be able to come in and reestablish their lives. Because had not, when quote unquote some people contested it, that during the time of a hurricane coming through, but the name was being called as a refugee, but being able to sustain another life is what they really was trying to get you all to understand. And here it is with President Biden is rebuilding that refugee stage and status where they can get 3 years to be able to get them a place to be settled in as a family, as a resident, as a part of the nation of United States. And here it is. We'll go forward, and as they go, I'll give you my opinion right here in the press room and on the Opinion Talk Show live with Big Baby, and you get it told on point right here. Listen close.
And in Russia, it's sort of like you've got Putin, then you have the Siloviki, which are the security and military elites, and then you've got the oligarchs, who are essentially, the economic money laundering types. The oligarchs, like Khodorkovsky used to be before he was thrown into jail, do have some control. They've got a piece of the economic pie.
No, they state and defined it just that fast with quote unquote my opinion on what you may not have been able to put together. But my opinion is that the Putinism is that these are the undergrounders working, and they do money. They do money laundering. They just spoke it, but it is what it is. For those who didn't catch it, you got it told right here by Big Baby on in the press room on Opinion Talk Show Live right here with MSNBC News live, speaking about President Putin with this senseless war. Live. Continue.
And they exert a little bit of control, but the people that I think Putin is very much more concerned about are these security officials who not only have the wherewithal, they have armed forces that serve under them, but they've also got the intelligence and they've got the ability to operate clanking.
Now, so here we are at this current stage right now. The hit is going to be from within because they have the armed forces that's above Putin. That actually, as you say, the federal government actually has a power to stop him or knock him off, and that's what's happening, and that what may have to take place, in my opinion, right here on Opinion Talk Show Live. That if you're not listening closely, you'll miss it. But they just stated that there are the armed forces, which is federal days over Putin, but they are close into with him, and that's the ones that may have to knock him. So as we go, my opinion, right here, quote unquote, was said on MSNBC News Live by one that is a marksman, said it has to be done, it needs to be done. But my opinion is giving it to you that it's lined up where there are insiders that's actually got the guns and weapons to do it. Listen.
Definitely. So I think that function of the system, as Putin set it up, is reminiscent, of course, of what happened to Mikhail Gorbachev in 1991, where there was a coup against him. So that's kind of, I think, the situation that Putin finds himself in now.
And
so therefore, there are some things that come up against Putin right now that had happened back in '92, but is going down on him today, and they will use that against him if he continue to mislead this war and can't come to no grasp with it, and it's still wide open because he has to fight from the ground, and it's going down. It's President Zelensky from Ukraine he's not laying down. He's getting down with it. He getting down. You understand? Quote unquote, it's going down. It's real. And listen close.
All seen these recent photos of Putin at these, ridiculously huge tables, physically far apart from other people. In some cases, it seems like he's set apart from, people in his national security and foreign policy realm, other top-level government officials, which is kind of strange when you think about it. What is going?
See, when he said the other officials, he's set apart from them. You understand, mind you, that he wants to be able to look at them and see in their faces. He wants to see them, to see who is he can't trust. He can't trust himself, and that's my opinion, quote unquote, right here. Big Baby live in the press room, MSNBC News live with the press in the Opinion Talk Show press room, and I'm giving you my opinion right here on point. And he wants to look at them because he's not sitting next to them. The CIA is the ones that can hit him. That's the close ones to him. So he can't tell them not to be by him, but he can sit away from them and go forward with it.
On with some of that in your view, and I mean, is it COVID? We talked about some of this before. Or is he actually worried that somebody is going to try to kill him?
Who did I not give my opinion? Quote on point. You just heard it right there. They're sensing that he's sensing that someone's gonna knock him going forward.
I think that it's a combination of things. I mean, it does appear that Putin was inordinately concerned about contracting COVID, which is sort of ironic because, of course, Russia, pioneered, if you will, the Sputnik shot, which the vaccine, which he assumedly would have had, but I guess didn't have a whole lot of faith in. He normally is in somewhat of a bubble simply because there's not a whole lot of people who have direct access to him, and even when they do, it's not like it's not like a typical situation, staff meeting type of thing that you would have here in the U.S. government, where you have usually a frank and open exchange of views. With Putin, you have to be very careful what you say in front of him. So that's a bit of isolation as well. I don't think he thinks that somebody's going to launch themselves across that long table and try to poison him, with the tip of an umbrella or something.
There we go. Now you have it. He's setting away from him because they got medicine and it floats around where these things take place, but I have nothing to do with what took place with someone's brother as of a president that some ladies touched his brother and he died. So anything is what I'm speaking of. They just spoke at that Putin is sitting away because he don't want no umbrella, tip of an umbrella or ink pen or something to touch him, and he died. He's trying to stay aware of his surroundings, but at the same time, these are people that you are supposed to be down with. They're supposed to be down with you, but quote unquote, he's not letting them in on what happened with him and his hip partner who had persuaded him to do this senseless war. And the reason why it means that I don't want to go too far, but my opinion, this is my opinion right here, quote unquote. Boom, in the press room, live, MSNCB live news. You understand? BC live news going down, and is like this, where as though these things are yet to be proven the truth, but the truth is as it goes, with starting with like the whistleblower and off and go forward, where it's supposed to be a 48-hour deal with the wall. Well, my buddy, he gonna do it. He gonna bring some peace to him, but this peace is not precisely taken in as a threat. It's as a wall, and he don't understand. A wall is when you go at something and something come back at you. See, a fight, that's a fight. When you punch, somebody punch you, not no punching bag, you dodging the bag. No, you got to be able to watch out for the one that's going to hit you. So he don't know how he's going to get hit. He's all inside his own cabinet with him, is about to hit him. Putin, yes, quote unquote, my opinion is going down. You hear it as I speak right here on MSNBC News live with the press.
I think he is more concerned about collusion that could happen against him because of how badly it's going, not just in Ukraine, but also, how the impact of the sanctions are coming down in Russia. And that's only going to unfold more as we go forward. So his worries are going to continue to be there.
And there's been a lot of talk, Stephen, in the last week about, whether or not Putin is trying to come up with a bogus pretext for the use of chemical or biological weapons, accusing the Ukrainians of, plotting in this area or having, I guess, labs that may be developing those types of weapons, that sort of thing, without offering any evidence. And that could be used as a pretext for Putin, for the Russians to use those types of weapons. What are your thoughts on that? How does that sound to you?
Yeah, that all really does make sense. You don't have to go back too far. You can go back to the Syrian war to see that there's a lot of those tactics that were used. You recall that the deal that Putin had with Assad was that Assad would say, look, there's bad terrorists out there. Of course, there weren't, but he would say we need to go do something serious, and they just use chemical weapons, so let's annihilate that entire city in Aleppo's case. But you don't have to go. I mean, that's a relatively recent example. There are other historical examples where this sort of provocational propaganda can lead then to action or attempted action. I mean, remember that in the 80s, it was the Russians who accused the United States of the AIDS virus being something that.
Well, here we are right now. We're getting breaking news coming in with MSNBC live with President Biden speaks over sanctions of Cesar on punishments. And here we go.
Wow. Look at this.
In a second.
94% of people believe company culture is
Take steps to deny most favored nation status to Russia. The G7 will seek to deny Russia the ability to borrow from leading multinational institutions such as the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank. Putin is an aggressor. He is the aggressor. Putin must pay the price.
The president outlining these new economic.
Yep. So therefore, the president has outlined the new economic sanctions against Russia, and they are, as they go forward, are what they are, as he has done from the start to now, is that Putin gives no indication to stop this senseless war, and Russia is closing in on Ukraine in Kyiv. And President Biden do agree that now, during the time of President Reagan, the refugees were building up tremendously to give them a way to be able to come into the states but Trump, he trashed the help for the refugee settlement. And now President Biden has opened it up to rebuild and do it right, whereas though it should be there for some time to come, because they are the way for refugees, for them to have 3 years to get into school, to settle, resident, and to obtain a job, and many things that can show that they they are settled in to rebuild their lives here in the States, United States. Well, as I go forward with it, we will go on to it. They have some more questions and things going about, and I will give my opinion on this in a brief second.
Economic penalties on Russia today. Congress is also considering here ending normal trade relations with Russia. Biden urging G7 countries to deny Russia the ability to borrow any foreign money, as you just heard, plus bans on the imports of Russian goods, including diamonds, seafood, and vodka. It could all come together to deny Moscow at least $1 billion in revenue, and that follows the bans on Russian oil imports earlier this week, plus the international financial squeeze that's hammering oligarchs aligned with Putin and some ordinary Russians. The ruble has plummeted. Lines at ATMs have snaked down sidewalks around buildings in Russia, which is a sign that people know something's up over there. Stores shuttered. Some international brands are all.
They finally get the notice inside there with the lines that's being drawn out going from within the building to outside the building to the back side of the corner, round the corner. It's all going towards a back drive, meaning that it's been a fast track that's taking them backwards, not forward, because they're going 32 years back to the 80s. And right now, today is 2022. You do the math. I mean, I'm just quote unquote giving my opinion on the results of what's been given out on CNN, on MSNBC, on ABC is here, and right now is MSNBC giving it out live again right now, and it's going down just like that as we speak.
So getting out, doing business in Russia, all of this may be part of the context of concern inside this country where protests are dangerous to those involved, but people are arguing, some of them out in the streets at their own risk, that they are against Putin's war in Ukraine. We have a very...
You get it? The people are out arguing and fussing in the street about this war, that senseless war that Putin has started. They are against it. They're not for it. And there's been a lot of people going to jail protesting behind it. It's been 14,000, quote unquote, that's been documented that are in prison due to the senseless war. And Putin is the aggressor. So here we are, and here we go. It's just that the things that are now at stake are the one that is the aggressor. His life is at stake, quote unquote, my opinion, because everybody keeps speaking of doing him some harm because he is not going to stop this senseless war at no point in no time soon. So, but the reason why, and reason being because he's already sent for people to come from the east to come in and assist him with this war against Ukraine. So Ukraine is actually winning. Anytime he have to send for other people to help him, whoa, what's the deal? Now, if the deal is not so, either he's planning to go forward through Kyiv and go straight through NATO. You understand? Now, that's where he's at, Kyiv, to try to take over, and he's about 10 miles out. So my opinion is that he wants to go even further than that. He wants to go inside of NATO because NATO is right there. He want to cover some of them grounds right there, just like you cut your grass. If your neighbor ain't cut his grass, you're going to cut some of the neighbor grass, which is not right. But they cut some of the neighbor grass so it won't be so close to their house being so high. But this is what Putin is planning to do, going in and get some of that out of NATO right there and claim it because they need that space. But quote unquote, that's not no space he needs. That's just greed. And if he take a little bit, he gonna take take an inch, he gonna take a yard, he gonna take a yard, he gonna take a mile, he gonna take a mile, he gonna take an acre. You understand? Before you know it, he gonna claim the whole nation if you keep letting them go. But quote unquote, this is my opinion right here. Opinion, Big Baby live on Opinion Talk Show. Get it told on point. And here we go. As I give it to you in another session coming live.
What does it mean to be a blazer? It means standing on a strong foundation of Christian principles.
Yep, here we go.
Good evening, everyone. We begin the readout tonight with the horrific realities of Putin's war of choice in Ukraine. For days, we've talked about the Russian dictator's increasing isolation, his strategic miscalculations, and his stomach-turning appetite for indiscriminate murder. Well, tonight, we want to show you what Putin's war actually looks like. And I do want to warn you that it is graphic and heartbreaking. Early today, Putin's forces bombed a maternity hospital in Mariupol, wounding 17 people. This is what it sounded like. The Russian airstrike was so powerful that the ground shook for miles. It blew out.
Now is that a thing to do, or the thing to try to stop from doing to innocent people? And this is what so heartbreaking about it. She's stating that is if you could see it, it would be up to your parents to allow you to look at it, because it's only should be not even for adults to see, but it's just that excruciating. You understand me? It's heartfelt, goes out to the Ukrainians for this country and their cities are torn to pieces by a senseless man, and we go forward with it.
The windows and left the newborn intensive care unit in ruins. Look at these images. These are the victims of Putin's war. It's the wailing mother clutching her bewildered child. It's a heavily pregnant woman bleeding, being carried out on a gurney.
Now, these are innocent people. These people in their houses. Now, it's not like you won with another army. You won with the whole country of Ukraine. These people just sitting there still. Well, you might as well, like our president say, that's a World War III. You going in killing up everybody. You ain't trying to set a war with the armed forces against the armed forces. You going in to claim the whole country. You don't want. It was something you was trying to get out of there. You got to take and tear down all that to get that little point in the back by the Black Sea. I mean, on the south side. I mean, you that's ridiculous. That's a senseless thing to do. You wanted all of it. It shows the tell. You want to rebuild it? Okay, you ain't got the money. The sanctions hit you. How you gonna rebuild?
And rush to safety. It's the innocent children sobbing and terrified that the Russians would return. This is how Putin chose to end the second week of his invasion, and it drew immediate condemnation. UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson called it depraved, and White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki said it was a barbaric use of force. In a video late today, President Zelensky called it an evil war crime. New satellite imagery from Maxar appears to show the extensive damage that the Russian invasion forces have inflicted so far on civilian infrastructure in Mariupol. The images show how they've laid waste to residential homes, apartment buildings, and grocery stores. And if that's not ghastly enough, the Associated Press took these images of mass grave sites dug on the outskirts of Mariupol because they cannot conduct proper burials due to the bombings. The Russians, of course, denied bombing the maternity hospital, claiming they do not fire on civilian targets. Instead, they continue to use propagandistic euphemisms about disarming Ukraine and dislodging Nazi leaders, none of that being true. My colleague Richard Engel spent a day in a Kyiv hospital talking to victims of Russia's attacks. He asked a doctor about Russia's denials.
Vladimir Putin says that the Russian army is not bombing civilians, that no civilians are being hurt.
It's an obvious lie.
Meanwhile, today, Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov arrived in Turkey ahead of planned talks with his Ukrainian counterpart. It should come as no surprise that the Russian...
Well, there you have it. It's said and done that Putin thinks he's not the one that caused and that fault for this senseless war. Well, he's inside his own cabin with his own people, trying to hide from them and talk to them at the same time. That's a scary thing to be in. That's a scary sight to see. We see him. That's why I tell you. That's why he was leaning at the table. He don't know if they're gonna start shooting at him or what. That's something. That ain't right. I mean, he ain't right. Okay, so it must be right. It's something going on. My opinion, quote unquote. Big David Live right here on Pinch Talk Show. You get it told, and it will come back to you again. Stay tuned, please. Stay tuned. It's news all night tonight, going down just like it is, right here in the press room. Opinion Talk Show live with Big Baby.